Hello and welcome to the program Healthy Living on Trust TV. I'm Aisha Salihu. In a previous episode of the program, we did talk about dental care, where we focused on the benefits of maintaining a good oral hygiene. On that episode, we also looked at the oral diseases, where we also looked at the structure of the teeth and its functionality, and also we talked about the techniques of brushing, amongst others. Now, as a follow-up to that particular episode, I still have Dr. Ayamo Akimbo Okunbowa, a dentist who we had in the previous episode, and she's here again to talk about aesthetic dentistry. Welcome to the program, Doc.
Thank you, Aisha. It's nice to be here again.
So now we're looking at aesthetic dentistry. What exactly does this mean?
Aesthetic dentistry is that specialty in dentistry that deals with the appearance or improves the appearance of a smile of a patient's teeth. Now, we all know that a good smile goes a long way, and there are some features, there's some characteristics of a good smile that we are looking out for: the color, the alignment, and all that would represent a beautiful smile. So this part of dentistry that improves it is what we call aesthetic dentistry.
Now, you did talk about the characteristics, features, and traits. I'd like to know, in line with its functionality, what makes it different from, say, the standard dental, gingivival, and oral health practices?
Well, when it comes to aesthetics, we are no longer talking so much as to the health of the tooth, but more on beauty and functionality. Because before we get to aesthetics, we would have dealt with the health of the tooth. Okay, that it's a healthy tooth, or it's being treated, it's been managed, but the appearance is what we are focusing on now. So that's where aesthetic is different from the regular routine dental checkup.
So, but then I'd like to know, what are the methods or, say, procedures of aesthetic dentistry?
There are various reasons why people seek dental care, aesthetic for beauty. There are various reasons. Perhaps one, let's start with loss of teeth, poor smile, oral habits like sucking, tongue sucking, tongue thrusting, crooked teeth. People could come for aesthetic dentistry because of crooked teeth, and stains. Yes, so these are the reasons why patients come into the clinic considering doing something about the appearance of their teeth.
You did say you were going to accompany the reasons, like the whys, now with the methods and the procedures to go with that.
So let's start with loss of teeth. Now, when a patient comes in with a missing tooth, probably due to trauma or it was removed in the clinic, now his care would be the appearance and function. So we have various options when it comes to replacement of missing teeth. We have the least expensive, which is the denture. Now, a denture is an acrylic-based prosthesis that is fabricated for that particular patient. So you can't just go and buy it in the store. It's designed for that particular patient. And it replaces missing teeth. Now, the disadvantage of that would be that patients have to remove the denture every night, because it puts pressure on all the other supporting tissue, which is the mouth, the gum, the standing teeth. Puts pressure on them, and then the inconvenience of having to remove your teeth at night. Some patients don't like that option. We also have reasons like when patients can't eat with teeth because it doesn't feel natural when they chew. So we have to look at other options for replacement of a missing tooth. But definitely it's one choice you can go for if you're considering how fast you can get it and the price. Now, we also have other options like bridge. Now, a bridge is a replacement of a missing tooth by trimming the teeth that are standing or bordering that missing space fabricating a crown for those teeth, and their crown would carry a missing tooth in between. So where you have those standing teeth beside the space, anchoring the missing tooth. Now this is more or less, this is fixed. Patient don't have to remove it every night. You don't have to remove it every time you want to eat. It's fixed in your mouth. But there are disadvantages to it as well. There are disadvantages to it. You could have sensitivity from those teeth that were trained. Okay, because these teeth are perfectly healthy, but because you want to use them as an abutment to replace the missing teeth, you have to touch them. And we try as much as possible, no matter how the aesthetic dentistry want to do minimal destruction of natural or healthy teeth. We try as much as possible to do that. But in this case, you must touch. You have to touch. Maybe not must. In some cases, depends on how the mouth is or what the patient presents with. You don't have to touch, but mostly you would have to touch the tooth. That means trim the tooth. That's to remove the outer layer, which is the enamel, from those teeth, and fabricate a crowns for them that can now carry the pontic. These are the disadvantages where patients feel like you're destroying a healthy teeth to replace one. And now you have to also consider that the crown don't involve the bone underneath the missing tooth. It's just aesthetic. It's just for function and beauty. So the underlying structure, which is the bone, can further shrink, because after a loss of tooth, the bone shrinks. Now can further shrink, and therefore creating a gap underneath the replaced tooth, and food can start packing in there. In the long run, that's system just fails. Or while food is packing in there, the adjacent teeth that were used as abutments becomes sensitive, painful. You have to treat, and for you to treat, you have to remove the whole thing to treat. So it can be a lot of going back and forth. So some people just stay away from doing that procedure, because in your bid to replace one tooth, in the long run you end up losing two. All right, so this is the disadvantage for bridges. That doesn't mean it's not done. We do minimally invasive ones that last. I've seen one that lasted for over 36 years, which is a good prognosis. All right. So we also have the implants. Implants is the one that people go for these days, because in this case you do not have to touch any healthy teeth. You just go right where the tooth came out from. In fact, you could even do a one visit procedure. The same day the tooth is being removed, the bad tooth is being removed, you start the implant. It's where a metal, titanium metal, biocompatible metal, is placed within the bone, and your bone grows around it, which we call osseointegration, and it holds it in place. Once it's firm, the tooth is loaded, and it's as good as you never lost a tooth. It's just that it's on the high side, and people have to think about it before going for it, but it's the perfect option for replacing teeth. So this is for missing teeth. We also have another condition that is considered for aesthetic management or improvement, would be stains. People have stains from various foods and drinks that they use, that they take, even use of tobacco and the rest. They could get stains on their teeth. So now when a patient comes in and it stains, there are several options we can do. Depends on how badly it is, or what kind of stain it is, because we have intrinsic and extrinsic stains. So in the case of stains, we could go simply for whitening or bleaching after scaling and polishing is done. We said that scaling and polishing is the one that has to do with the health of your, conditions your tissue, treats the health of your gum. Now we are going further into appearance. So now bleaching deals with appearance, that's aesthetic or cosmetic. Now, when a patient comes in, bleaching, what bleaching entails is we use a bleaching agent, mostly hydrogen peroxide, is applied on the tooth, on the teeth rather, after the gum has been isolated, barricaded, because it could burn. That's why we somewhat discourage home bleaching kits, because it could be dangerous. So if you need to bleach, you need to come to the clinic. So would assess where you are and where you want to be. You know, we mentioned realistic goals when it comes to patients. Okay, so a patient could come with a particular shade and expects to go with with a very bright white shade. Bleaching may not do that for you. We might have to consider another kind of procedure to get you that Hollywood white, bright pearl smile. Okay, but bleaching does help with brightening your smile. Okay, and it's done by applying that hydrogen active ingredient, hydrogen peroxide, and it's sped up by exposing it to a laser light for a few minutes, and to activate the ingredients and brighten the teeth even faster. So a lot of people go for laser whitening these days. You could do it as often as you would like. The only disadvantage with that could be that there could be sensitivity, maybe for the first 2 or 3 days after the procedure, just sensitivity, and that can be dealt with. We have many things we can do to resolve the sensitivity, but we have patients coming in for it. Now, I mentioned that some patients come in with a particular shade and they want a light white shade, and bleaching will not do that. Now, we have another kind of procedure that is called veneers. Veneers is not just for stains. We could also do veneers for chipped teeth, maybe anterior teeth that is chipped, it's cracked, you know, and patients want it fixed and they have an expectation. They tell you what they want and you give them the option. And one option is veneers. Veneers are like, I explain it as simply as I can to my patients so they understand. I always say, have you seen a white table? Now, that table has been covered with a particular material. Woods don't come in whites, right? So apart from painting it, you could use some things to cover it. Now that's veneering. Okay, so now we use some material probably coming from ceramic, made of ceramic or zirconia. We use that, or composite resins to make veneers, and these are bonded to the teeth after doing some minimal trimming of the teeth. It depends. There are some that we don't trim at all, and there are others we can trim to get accurate measurements and alignment. It can also be used to correct some sort of rotations or slight malalignment on teeth just by trimming it and repositioning it using the veneers. So veneers is one option for creating a beautiful smile.
I'm very particular about these veneers that you talked about, because when you go on social media these days, you get to see a lot of celebrities. Everybody is going to get, put veneers in their teeth, and you're wondering, what's this exactly about? And I'd like to know, how long does this last? I mean, do you have to have a renewal, maybe a replacement? How?
Just like your health, like we have said, you need to see your dentist every 6 months for checkup. Okay, so in this case, it's no different. After you get your veneers fixed, you need to go for your regular checkup, because there could be instances where there was some debonding of a particular veneer, and that would require an emergency fixing. But besides that, just going for a regular checkup, cleaning, adjustments, not necessarily adjustment, checkup and cleaning, your dentist would assess it and say, oh, it's still fine. And that's it.
Now, where does the role of dental filling now come in? Because you just talked about veneers now, where you talked about how you can either maybe reshape the teeth if it's a cracked tooth or something. But now, what's the role of dental filling, and what kind of materials are used for that?
Now, there is also another option that I was getting to, which is composite resin bonding. Now, composite resin bonding can be used as a material for veneering and also for regular filling. Now, there are people who have cracked tooth on the front and all they want is to fix that particular tooth. We don't need to go doing veneers for it because it might just look obviously different from the others. Okay, so you can just fix that cracked part with composite restoration. Veneers do not replace composite restoration because composites can actually be used as veneers as well.
Okay, so I understand there are still other methods and procedures of this aesthetic dentistry. I have bonding, reshaping. You did talk about implants, gum leaf straightening, and bite reclamation. If you could quickly just talk about all of this.
Gum lift is when you have a patient with a gummy smile. I don't know if you have seen anyone. When they smile, you see their teeth is a bit shorter than the amount of gum you see. Yes, we could do procedures like laser resculpting of that tooth to lift the gum, expose more of the teeth that is present, and enhance the smile. Yes, it's done. That's gum lifting. Okay. Then we have reshaping. We have cases where a tooth is chipped on the edge, like 0.5 chip, and the patient is very conscious of it. We can actually trim and try to make it rounded so that the patient feels a lot comfortable, no sharp edges as well. Also, straightening. Straightening is a standard aesthetic procedure. People call it straightening. Yes, and is also known as orthodontic dentistry. Yes, orthodontic dentistry is when braces, metals are bonded to the teeth, and some graded wires are used to straighten out teeth with slow pressure over a long period of time. Now we know that people are becoming more aware and they want some things less, how am I going to put it now? Less overpowering in their smile. When they are wearing braces, you see when someone is wearing braces, is there, you can see it. So more people go for Invisaligns these days. Invisaligns are transparent. You may not see it if you're coming from afar, that someone is wearing something to correct their teeth, and they can take it off and eat their food and then replace it immediately, so the correction continues. So these are also aesthetic.
Thank you so much. We'll go on a quick break now, and when we do return, we'll pick up our conversation on aesthetic dentistry. Don't go away, we'll be right back. Welcome back. If you're just joining in, this is the program Healthy Living on Trust Television, and I still have with me Dr. Anyamo Akimbo Okunkwowa, a dentist, and who she has been talking about aesthetic dentistry, where she also has been giving us more perspectives on methods and procedures and why people actually decide to go for this methods and procedures. Thank you so much for still staying with us on the program. Now, I'd like to know what is the role of sedation during these procedures? Because when we talk about cosmetic surgeries, or now in this case aesthetic dentistry, so some people would want to think perhaps maybe some patients are uncomfortable with these procedures and they would rather they are being sedated. I'd like to know, what is the role of sedation during some of these procedures?
Yes, sedation does play an important role for patients who are agitated or they don't want to go through the process. In Nigeria, it hasn't necessarily been standardized. Most of our procedures here, we don't do under sedation. Yes, we do under anesthesia, where you don't feel pain, but you are awake and aware of what we're doing. But outside the country, yes, they consider sedation. And in some difficult cases, we also consider sedation in special needs patients, but not necessarily aesthetics in Nigeria, but it's definitely practiced elsewhere.
I'd like to take us back to the point earlier where you talked about the goals. You know, some patients have certain goals. Okay, I'm coming for aesthetic dentistry, and this is the particular procedure I'm going for, and I have a goal. I have something I'm looking forward to. Perhaps they have a picture, they have a video. This is what they want. This is the result they expect, the outcome by the end of the day. But then, let's say in an event they don't get these expected outcomes. What happens?
Now, when you're going in for aesthetic dentistry, the first and the most important role, the part you handle is your patient's expectation. If a patient comes in with a gap in the tooth and you don't make the right diagnosis, apart from the expectation, the diagnosis, you need to understand why what is going on, what happened, what's the cause of the situation, and then you consider the best solution for the patient and then the patient's expectation. Now, if you present all of this, what is the best solution, and then the patient's expectation, you need to find out if you need to understand, let your patients understand if their expectations are realistic or unrealistic. If you go ahead and start a procedure for a patient with unrealistic goals and you're not able to meet up with that particular goal, there's trouble. Okay, so from the beginning, you need to understand very clearly what your patient wants, and then you let your patient know what is achievable. Okay, they might have seen on the TikTok skits of someone doing veneers or crowns to reposition their teeth. But what they would benefit from would be orthodontics. If you go ahead with that procedure, it may not work. It would fail. Okay, and your patients will leave very dissatisfied. And we don't want that, because a very unsatisfied patient takes away a lot of patients from you, because bad news spreads very wide.
Right. Yeah. How does one, for any of these procedures, you know, they are cared for these procedures so that one does not have to maybe come back again? I know you talked about some that there has to be replacement. I'm talking about the others now where this patient has done this. So how do they ensure they care for them, for these things that they have done on the teeth to make sure it's more beautiful, more appealing? And then how do they care for these procedures that have been done so that they don't have to maybe come back for, they don't have to need to, so they last as long as possible?
As long as possible. Well, post-operative instructions are given after every procedure, and they are different for different procedures. Now, if you follow the instruction that is given, if it's your denture, how to care for your denture, if it's your implants, what to eat and how to, if it's your braces, that's the ortho, what to eat, how to eat. If you're wearing braces, you can't bite on anything as much, because you will dislodge your braces, your brackets, and extend your treatment. That's where you see people wearing braces for many years, because they are not following instructions and they are debonding the brackets and stopping movement, whereas movement is required for a particular period of time. For the tooth to, pressure is required for the tooth to move or the teeth to move. So sticking to the instructions of the post-operative instructions given to you is the best way. One, and in visiting your dentist. I can't overemphasize seeing your dentist as often as 6 monthly to have whatever is going on checked and fixed before it gets worse.
Now, let us come to costs now. Cost of these procedures. So very quickly, how can one manage the cost of these procedures?
Well, most of the health insurance do not cover aesthetics or cosmetics. So all of our patients, most of our patients pay out of pocket, and it's pretty expensive. But it depends on what you're going for. Yes, the prices vary in different clinics and where they source their material. But they would let you know. But when it comes to replacement, denture is definitely cheaper as opposed to implants and bridges. Bridges are cheaper as opposed to implants, if you understand what I mean. So various procedures have their various prices, and some health insurance actually covers the one that is essential. For example, the patient cannot chew and they have to wear a denture. At least some health insurance covers that. It's not seen as cosmetic, or it's seen for its functionality. Okay, whereas others are not covered. So patients usually have to pay out of pocket, increasing patients' expectation and your ability to deliver, because they are paying out of their pocket. They expect that you give them their money's worth.
Okay.
Yes.
So now, on a final note, I'd like for you to, just very briefly, let's say for someone who's considering the beauty of their teeth and they're looking at going into aesthetic dentistry. I understand you talked about first things first, visit a dental clinic to see a dentist. Now, as an expert, what are your words? What are your final words to anyone who has that intention? So I'd like for you to factor in the benefits and the disadvantages or complications that could arise.
Aesthetics in dentistry is one way to go. Invest in your smile. It does go a long way. Okay? And wherever you go, whoever dentist you are approaching, ensure you ask questions. Let them know, because we have had cases where patients come in and they were never told the disadvantage or the possible mishap that could happen if they got their bridges done. They were not told, and they feel very bad because they were not informed. It's now on you as a patient to ask questions. Ask your dentist, what are the disadvantages? I'm sure you have been equipped from our talk so far. Ask questions, and your dentist will sincerely tell you this is what it is and this is what you should go for. And all of that would help give you the results that you need.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Anyamwa Kimbo Okungbowa, for your time on the program.
Thank you, Aisha.
I hope this has given us the much needed insight on aesthetic dentistry, what it's about, how to go about it, and all that you need to know. For comments, contributions, and suggestions on this episode of the program, do well to follow, like, or subscribe to all of our social media platforms. Join us again on another episode of the program, Healthy Living on Trust Television. I'm Aisha Salihu. Thanks for watching.